All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to talk about something super important for any local business. Which of those online listings, or citations, actually help you get more customers? And just how many do you really need to be worried about? We're going to break it all down.
You ever have that feeling? You know you do great work, your customers are happy, but for some reason, the phone just isn't ringing like it should be. Meanwhile, you know your competitors are swamped, and it's just so frustrating to think that jobs you should be getting are going to them instead.
Well, here's the thing. It's probably not about your skills or the quality of your service. It's a visibility problem. See, in the world of online search, the business that gets the job isn't always the best one. It's the one that's easiest for customers and for Google to find, and more importantly, to trust.
So let's get to the root of this. It all comes down to what we can call the online trust problem. And to fix it, we first have to understand how a search engine like Google even decides which businesses it's going to show to people.
The absolute foundation of this online trust is something called a citation. Now, what is a citation? It sounds technical, but it's really simple. It's just any place online that mentions your business's key info, your name, your address, and your phone number. You'll hear this called your NAP, and you can think of it as the unique digital fingerprint for your local business.
Now here's why that fingerprint is so important. Google's entire job is to give people results they can trust, right? If it sends someone to an old address or gives them a disconnected phone number, that's a terrible experience. So when your business's name, address, or phone number are different across different websites, it sends up a huge red flag for Google. It creates confusion and makes Google wonder, which one of these is the real business?
And you can see the two paths this can take right here. When your name, address, and phone number, your NAP, are exactly the same everywhere, it builds incredible trust with Google. That leads to higher rankings and, you guessed it, more calls. But when that info is a mess, maybe an old address is floating around or your business name is spelled two different ways, it just creates confusion. You lose visibility and your phone rings less. This inconsistency is, without a doubt, one of the biggest reasons local businesses get buried in search results.
Now, when you hear all this, your first thought might be, oh my gosh, do I need to be listed on every single website on the internet? And the answer is, absolutely not. Thank goodness, right? This isn't about being everywhere, it's about being in the right places. So let's focus on the citations that actually move the needle.
We can take this huge, overwhelming world of websites and boil it down to three simple, manageable categories. If you get these three right, you have seriously covered most of your bases. They are the big players, the data hubs, and the niche directories.
First up, the big players. These are the household names, the ones everybody knows. We're talking about your Google Business Profile, Apple Maps, Facebook, and Yelp. Getting your info perfect here is non-negotiable, because this is where customers are actively looking for you every single day.
Second, we have the data hubs. Now, you might not have heard of these, but they are incredibly powerful. Think of platforms like Foursquare and DataAxle as central libraries for business information. They collect your NAP data and then feed it out to hundreds of other smaller apps, websites, and directories. So getting your information right here creates this massive positive ripple effect of consistency all across the web. It's a huge time saver. And finally, the niche directories. These are websites that are super specific to what you do or where you do it. We're talking about your local Chamber of Commerce website, or a national trade association for your industry, or even consumer sites like Angie for home services. Being listed here sends a really powerful signal to Google that you are a legitimate, authoritative expert in your specific field.
Okay, so now we know where we need to be listed. That brings us to the second, and maybe even bigger question. How many of these things do you actually need? Is there some magic number?
Let's just tackle this head on. Are we talking about being on 20 websites? 50? 100? What's the number you should be shooting for? Here it is. This is the single most important takeaway from this entire explainer. When it comes to citations, accuracy and consistency are so much more important than just the sheer number of them. I mean it. Having your information perfectly correct on 30 important high-quality sites is way, way better than being on 300 random sites with conflicting info.
So your goal shouldn't be a specific number of listings. Your goal should be 100% accuracy across those key sites we talked about, the big players, the data hubs, and the most relevant niche directories for your business. That right there is your top priority.
Okay, let's bring this all home. Because, this isn't about theory or just pleasing Google. This is about one thing: getting more book jobs. Let's connect the dots from what's happening online to what's happening with your bank account.
It really is a domino effect. It all starts with having accurate and consistent citations in the right places. When you do that, you build Google's trust. When Google trusts you, it shows you to more people, which improves your local search rank. Higher visibility naturally leads to more customers finding you, which leads to more calls. And more calls, well, that translates directly into more booked jobs.
If you don't remember anything else, remember this. The entire process boils down to this simple truth. Trust leads to visibility, and visibility leads to calls. That's it.
So the final question you need to ask yourself is this. Right now, is your business's information online building confidence, or is it creating confusion? Is it sending clear, consistent trust signals to Google and, more importantly, to your future customers?
I really hope this helped clarify what actually matters when it comes to your online listings. For more practical insights just like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you need some hands-on help building that online trust to get more jobs booked, Proper Marketers is a great resource to check out. Thanks so much for watching.